Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Grosse Ile Township regular scheduled business meeting, Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. April 28, 2014. Let's begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I find it interesting.
Okay, thank you. We're just wrapping up a infotech briefing from our provider, Cygnus Corporation, and a lot of exciting new capabilities for us to be better connected with you, with the state, and maintaining our records and running a smarter, if not more heavily populated township board. So at this point, since we have a long agenda, we had to print it small. I'm going to have to wear these. I'm going to request an addition of a presentation to the agenda for the Governor's Fitness Award. So I move we would add the Governor's Fitness Award presentation.
Support.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Budney. And those in favor of adding, please, the Governor Fitness Award, so please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Are there any other additions or deletions for tonight's agenda?
Mr. Supervisor, I would ask that we delete action item number 6. We had the backup information for that presented to us late today. I did not have the time to go over it, and since we're talking about demolishing somebody's property, I think it's important enough that we be informed on what we're voting on. So I would ask, and I don't know how many other people went over the 25 pages that were given to us, but I would ask that we just put it off until next meeting.
Well, we have a motion, and I'm going to want some discussion on this. This has been going on for some time, and it is a dangerous, dangerous situation. I have fielded residents' complaints, and we've been through the appropriate steps that we go through for dangerous buildings. I'd like to get that thing knocked down as soon as possible before, as we get into summer, longer days and more kids out playing, there's a real opportunity for an injury in that.
Well, yeah, and it's been hanging around for some time, and I think 2 weeks. I just don't like voting on anything that I don't have the information on, and I haven't been able to go over it.
Well, I gave you my position. We have a motion. Not hearing a second. We can, Woody, Mr. Clark, I got business. Not hearing a second. Hearing no second, we will leave it on the agenda. Other additions, deletions to the agenda from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands amended. At this time, I'm going to invite Chief Murdoch, please, to the microphone.
Well, it's kind of... I don't know what to say.
Oh, let me try my...
There we go.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of with heavy hearts I bring to the board. We lost one of our firefighters Friday at the age of 52. Lieutenant Mike McNabb died in Florida while vacationing with his son for spring break that's in high school. Unknown on why it or how it happened. He was admitted to the hospital, and roughly 9-10 hours later he was gone. So, and family, at this time, we have no pertinent information to bring to you, but we do know that the funeral is coming up towards the tail end of the week. So, and it's at Martinson's on West Road. So he's left behind 3 children, and just hopes and a lot of prayers for the family. So we're going to miss him a lot. He was one of our best. He was with us about 13 years.
Okay.
So.
All right, with that, please keep Lieutenant McNabb family in your thoughts and prayers, and let's take a moment of silence for Lieutenant McNabb. So with that, with heavy hearts, we'll move on with tonight's agenda. knowing we're missing one of our best. Okay, at this time we have a presentation scheduled for the Police Department Volunteer Service Recognition. I guess I'll ask Chief Porcerelli.
Good evening. What I'd like to do tonight, first talk about our deer management program. And 5 years ago we started this program and we did a count from the air. The DNR does it actually, we don't. And they got about 472 deer they found. And today, the last count that we had, which was probably a couple months ago, minus what we got this year, we're probably down to about 118 deer in 5 years, and it's a very manageable amount for gross eel. They don't believe we should have over 40 to 60, but 118 is it's good for us now. The property damage, the vehicular damage, the accidents that they're causing, we're very happy with it. But the most important part is 5 years of this, it's been without incident. I kind of hate to bring this up of other cities, but other cities have tried what we've done, and it's turned into a fiasco. And it's unfortunate, and they stopped doing it because they couldn't manage it, and it just didn't work for them. We've gone again 5 years without any incidents, no injuries, no issues, and I have to admit, really no real complaints. I mean, you have the ones that are for and the ones that are against, and I understand that. I respect everybody's opinion. It's not saying I don't take that into consideration, but mine are the safety complaints are so important. If there's issues that we have, that we try to fix them. We've done this as safe as possible, and they've done a great job. So what I have is I have some plaques we had made, and I don't know, I was going to put it there for them to see it, but as you can see it, the shape of gross eel and each person's name on the plaque. And what I'd like to do,
Dale's going to work the overhead so that...
just show the people. All right. Show them what it looks like. Yeah, that's good. Just to kind of show them. Apparently, some didn't make it tonight, and there are a few here that were involved in it. And I would like to, if I could just read this also for you, just to. This is a certificate of appreciation and recognition for the assistance and dedication in the Deer Management Program 2009 to 2014 from the Grosse Ile Board of Trustees, the Grosse Ile Police Commission, and Joseph Porcerelli, Chief of Police. So this is for David Brannick. Apparently he couldn't be here tonight. Dave worked all 5 years and he did a lot of the heavy work. Did the processing, a lot of the grunt work. Ed, I'm going to save yours for last. We're going to talk about you a little bit here. And it won't be behind your back, I guarantee it. It'll be right to you. Mark Facenhammer was another gentleman that worked, we had two shooters, Mark Facenhammer and Bill Barron, and it's so important. People think that this is something easy where you can just be a deer hunter, and again, I'm not knocking the deer hunters, so this isn't it. But when you get two gentlemen that are out there without incident and constantly doing this, and there are two sharpshooters, it was excellent. It was excellent, and Mark was one of them. Mark was one of the shooters, and again, he had to do the hauling, so did a lot of the physical work. Former Police Chief William Barron was another one, and again, just like Mark, one of the shooters, and he did a lot of the physical work all 5 years. And actually, he kind of coordinated most of it. I oversaw the program, and he handled the operations in the field for everything. We have one for Dale Ream. Dale helped out in the permits, the paperwork, and anything that we needed. Dale and I coordinated. He was very helpful in many of the different areas for us. So if I can give this to Dale. Ed, do you want to come up? Can you come up? For those of you who don't know Mr. Kostroff, Ed Kostroff is a gentleman that has set it up through the shelter in Detroit, and he did a lot of the work himself. He picks up the deer, gets them to be processed, and if you know, over the last 5 years, we have given close to 30,000 pounds of meat to the shelter in Detroit. And Ed set that up. He's the catalyst that started this, so we had 100%. One of the, I just get one of the issues in the program is there are some individuals that didn't want to help out unless they got something for it. This was a crew that was 100% volunteerism. Everything that we took, every animal that was taken, was given to a shelter. I wouldn't allow anybody to take anything. That's just not how we operate out here. And they did it the correct way, they did it the right way, and for that reason, you had a lot of people eating that they usually wouldn't have that kind of meat. They did a great job. He did a fantastic job, and again, it's because of him that we had this program set up on where to go with the deer. So Ed, I want to personally give this to you, and thank you. Here's your plaque. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the board, and to the police department, and to the Township of Grosse Ile. We've had a lot of people because of what we've done and made the island a safer place to drive. Thank you.
Ed and everyone, can I say thanks?
Thank you, Ed. I just want to say to all these people, thank you again. I was blessed to have this group. For Ed, again, to do what he did for downtown and for the people of Detroit in that shelter, that feeding shelter. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible how much food that they got, how much meat that they got down there, and what they can do with it. And again, I want to thank everybody. And any questions or anything?
City Light? City Light?
City Light, yes.
Is the coordinating agency that makes sure that the food gets to the end user, the people who really need a nutritious meal.
It worked out well. Next year, I will let you know, we probably may take next year off just to see where we get, and then we'll have another count. Again, we go up in a helicopter, the DNR will go up again and see how many that we'll have and see what we have for the next years and go from there. But I'd just like to thank everybody, the Township Board, for everything, your assistance and everything you've done for us. And Dale, thank you for the help you've given me in the paperwork and overseeing the operation from the office. And it's worked out real well. But I'd just like to thank everybody and for your support especially. And that's where we're at. So the numbers were good.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. We're going to move on to another, and I've got to get the computer monitor back up on the overhead, so we're making strides in this IT stuff, but there's some things I can't control from here, and Dale can bring that. Okay, where did it go? I was privileged to represent Grosse Ile Township at the Governor's Fitness Awards. This was on Thursday the 24th, went up to Lansing. Very nice presentation. Learned a lot about how this has been progressing throughout the state. As you probably remember, Grosse Ile Township, we won a bronze award in the communities status. Communities that are, and there's some nomenclature for, but basically this is a community that's taking active steps towards making an active lifestyle available, promoting it. One of our biggest assets is, of course, our rec department and our system of bike trails and paths. So this was in the Capitol Rotunda. I did get a chance to speak with our state senator, Pat Colbeck, while I was there. He has a nice certificate of appreciation for us and a plaque. But I want to bring Al Valaket, who was probably the spearhead. Al, would you please, on the actual application for this award and all the steps, well, it was, reminded me of the 14-point review. There was about 700 or 800 questions that had to be answered on what Grosse Ile Township does to promote health and activity and what things are made available. And the other key player in this, I would have to say, is our Bike Path Advisory Committee, because that is the single most visible means of activity that the township gives to its people, makes available to its people. And anytime the weather is even remotely nice, like it's not a blizzard, we will have our bike paths clear and people will be on them. There's moms pushing strollers, there's people riding bicycles, there's kids on their big wheels, and I'm so proud to see our residents out using them. They're safe, they're away from the traffic. good exercise. We have a beautiful community. We're working on getting more bike paths, and we're working on getting well, we're going to go for the gold next year, but I'm sure we'll get the silver. So with this, I've got, this was at the Capitol. The next, let's see if I work this properly. This is Senator Colbeck. And it's just easier for me to read it from here. Let it be known, Grosse Ile Township, let it be known that it is with great respect and appreciation that we congratulate Grosse Ile Township on their nomination for Promoting Active Communities Award, the Governor's Fitness Awards ceremony. The township has worked diligently to make a healthy lifestyle more accessible within their community, and their outstanding service is deserving of this recognition. The commitment that Grosse Ile Township has made to promote active lifestyles for their citizens has proven praiseworthy and successful. The maintenance and design of the township's environment has made it safe for citizens to partake in running, walking, and biking throughout the community. Also noteworthy is their system of promoting physical activity and a healthy lifestyle through education in schools, neighborhoods, and work sites. These programs have made Grosse Ile Township an admirable model of an active community. Grosse Ile Township's contribution and dedication to their citizens' health has enriched the lives of many and is deserving of acclaim. For this reason, it is an honor to represent a township with great care and concern for its residents. In special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to Grosse Ile Township on their selection for the Governor's Fitness Awards. We applaud their accomplishments and wish them continued success. So with that, Sergeant Valcat,
Thank you.
I'm going to present you, and actually, Eric, would you hand me the plaque that's up there also? We'll try to do this. And then just click that to the next picture, and Wally, would you be good enough to join us as representing the bike path?
Well, represent it, but they did the work.
Well, they did the work, but somebody's got to, you take the heat if it went south, so, Al,
Thank you.
you guys did a lot of work.
We did.
And thank you for making it happen. I was proud and humbled to represent Grosse Ile Township at this. There's about 2,000 townships, cities, villages throughout the state of Michigan. A total of 148 received recognition. So the fact that on our first attempt at it, we got the bronze level is a pretty good accomplishment. And this is the plaque. And Al, you can read that.
No, I can't out of my glasses.
I didn't bring mine either. Well, it's up to you. I got glasses.
I will say that I just worked as the scribe on this. There's so many people behind the scenes that work to make this community what it is. And a special thanks goes out to people like Tim Rooney that is putting the community in a position to have great recreation day in, day out. And he started it all. He works really hard to keep that status in this community, and I want to thank him a lot. And I'm sure that these will probably go to the rec department for display, along with our other class trophy. Thanks again, Tim. I really appreciate your support. Again, we're going to work on this for next year. We're going to produce the complete streets policy to the township, and hopefully you will adopt it by resolution. We can add that to our PAC program, and maybe we'll reach the silver award next year. That's our goal. So thanks again. Thanks for all your support. Thank you.
Thanks again.
He's so shy. Anyway, this is the plaque that was presented to me on behalf of the community, and it's promoting active communities, Grosse Ile Township, a community designed to support physical activity. We're making even more progress on that. We'll get more bike paths. The rec department is doing a great job. I was over there for ping pong Sunday evening, and what a blast. And that was an active group too. So lots of opportunities, and we'll find even more.
Mr. Supervisor, can I just make another comment about that? We've caused a contagiousness in this community about those bike paths. A contagiousness that recognizes that community rec is involved in bike paths. The greenways and open space is involved in bike paths. Tom Malvesta is probably more excited about programs in the bike path area because they tie the group that he is so interested in with my group, the Bike Path Advisory Committee. Tom's got a great idea about putting together a Sunday afternoon event where we will bring people onto the bike paths from several different directions and meet at Meridian in Macomb, and Tom's cooking hot dogs. So, we're going to bring people from the south end where we're trying to put in our new fountain. And by the way, we would like to sell you bricks. We'll talk about those later. But when you see all of these committees and community effort getting ginned up together, it says a lot. And I think what it says is that the Bike Path Committee has been one smoking hot committee when it comes to getting things done. I said that they're like herding cats a couple times, right? But boy, they're an energetic bunch of cats. Thank you all on the Bike Path Committee, and thanks, Tom, for your interest, and we're going to promote that.
You got it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Posiak. That'll conclude presentations. We'll move on to brief public comment. Comment on agenda items for tonight. 3 minutes, please. Is there any comment on tonight's agenda items? All right, with none offered, we'll move on to consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion to approve consent agenda 14-034. Approve the minutes of the March 24th, 2014 regular meeting. Approve the minutes of the April 7th, 2014 regular meeting. Approve check registers dated March 31st, April 1st, April 11th, April 17th, and April 25th of 2014. And confirm acceptance of the qualified voter file equipment upgrade funded by HAVA Title II, Section 251 grant between the Michigan Department of State Bureau of Elections and the Township of Grosse Hill.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney. Is there any discussion among the board on the consent agenda? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to action items. A couple from DPS. I'll ask Trustee Budney, bring those to the table.
All right, sir. I'd like to move, based on the recommendation of the DPS Commission, to approve adjustment to the water and sewer rates of 10% per quarter as displayed on the Finance Director's water bill comparison sheet. Water rates would increase from $8.09 to $9.15 per 1,000 gallons, and sewer rates would increase from $3.12 to $3.60 per 1,000 gallons, effective April 1st, 2014.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss.
I'd like
Background,
to,
or?
yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Kostek to step forward.
Chair of our DPS Commission, Mr. Kostek.
Good evening, members of the board. I'd like to just comment briefly on water and sewer rate increases. This year, like every year, we struggle with this. We study it. Last February, when the budget was being prepared, the finance director and manager met with us, and we spent considerable time looking at this and alternatives. A couple of comments and conclusions we've reached, but the DPS Commission at our April meeting unanimously approved the recommendation to increase the rates. First of all, it's about a 10% increase for water and sewer. And, people say 10% every year. Well, we don't like to do that either. And 2 years ago, the 2012-13 year, we did not. We absorbed the rate increase. It was 9.9% from Detroit. We did not come back to you with a rate increase. This year, Detroit's increase to us is 11.3% for water. Last year, the finance director reported that we experienced a 13% drop in overall meter sales throughout the township. Could have been due largely to the wet weather we had, and maybe some of my neighbors I know are watering less because it's so expensive. So we've taken this very seriously. I wanted to mention that in looking at it this year, we've experienced in our water department 30, from the first of the year, 30 water main breaks. So that's one every 4 days. Many of our water mains are 60 and 70 years old. And you know, I think some of you know from prior discussions that the DPS Commission, hope to bring back to you in 2 or 3 months some recommendations on a major capital program for the future to upgrade several of our water mains. The fire chief came to us in February out of concern for pressure and need for improving water mains on East River and West River. So it is it is concern for the community. More to the point of this year's budget, I'm going to refer to a figure here that I have. The rate increase for water will generate $327,000. Of that, we have $280,000 budgeted for capital. Last year, we extended one water main and fixed 2 others, all short pieces, totaling about $300,000. We used up all of the cash, the liquid water funds that would normally be used for capital improvements. So we don't have any without budgeting. So this budget, if we didn't want to raise water rates, we could take the pressure reducing valve out that's 60 plus years old that we've all both approved to move forward with. And that's a major decision for us to fix that pressure reducing valve. It's in very bad condition. It controls the pressure as it comes across the bridge, the pipes that serve the island. So that's a very important improvement that we need to move forward with. Similarly, in the sewers case, the rate increase would raise $147,000, and we've budgeted, we could just delete capital improvements at our wastewater plant, and we wouldn't have to do that. However, we're facing several problems at the wastewater plant right now. We have some repairs going where the state, with the elevator shaft, the state's come in and stopped the job because now we have to replace the cables in conjunction with this. And tomorrow at 2 o'clock, our DPS Commission is going to assemble at the wastewater plant to look at some of these problems that are ongoing. So we need capital improvements. So both water and sewer fund, we talk about our operational costs. We've reduced staff. I think our operating costs are very lean, but the budget covers our operating costs, our wholesale purchase of water, our processing at our wastewater plant, our distribution systems, our collection systems, capital, and debt. And our budgets are lean. So it is with great concern, but with considerable study that we come to you and recommend approval.
Okay, don't leave. Thank you, Mr. Kostick. Obviously, if you've been reading anything in the news or following the news at all lately, Detroit Water and Sewage is under a series of microscopes for a number of reasons. They are our supplier. Fortunately, we are not tied into the Detroit wastewater treatment, or the Wayne County, Detroit, this wastewater treatment down on this end, which several of our neighboring communities are. They're in every bit as much of a pickle as Detroit Water and Sewage. Running our own, we at least are dodging to some extent that. It would just be extortive costs. But we continue to consider every option for providing safe, reliable water to the residents. We're doing the best with what we have to work with, looking for capital improvements to stay ahead rather than waiting for a major main break, run out of money, have to go out for a bond to fix piecemeal. The capital improvement plan keeps us, as best we can, keeps us ahead of disastrous repairs. I can't think of any other better way to put it, but
Knock on wood.
So far, we fixed the ones we can at the opportune times for the least disruption to the residents. And I knew nothing about water delivery until I got the job. I've learned a lot about it, and I'm proud of the job you're doing. I can't imagine a better way to run it. So I'll just start with thanks. From me, I'm confident that we're doing the absolute best job we can in regards of reliable, safe drinking water for both home use and for firefighting purposes. And then we extract the wastewater and treat it and return it responsibly to the environment. I think we're doing a good job. Yes, it costs money. I think our residents are getting a good value for the dollar.
Thank you.
There's nothing being hidden in our budgets. Other comments from the board?
Just two questions. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The first one is, are these rates still based upon the Plant Moran survey that was done several years ago? So they came through and projected over the next X number of years.
Well, certainly the debt schedules are, Mr. Ranka, and Ann would have to address that more appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, the plant rent schedule we would use before, we started doing it in-house. I went to a computer programming that actually does water and sewer rates, and but it is consistent, even if we look down the road. So probably in the next couple of years, we need to re-up that, but it's all based on capital. Everything else is pretty lean, so it's just based, we haven't put a lot of we haven't had them redo it because we haven't put extreme capital into it, which would change the whole picture. But if you look at the rates from before, they're pretty consistent on where we're going. I think they projected water rates from Detroit at 8%. So, but if you look over of what we did several years ago, it is consistent in mind.
Just a comment on that Platte Moran Capital Improvement Plan, which really dates back probably 4 boards ago. It's been almost 20 years, shortly, early 90s. In the middle of that plan, the structure through that plan was to generate about $10.5 to $12 million of infrastructure repair or upgrades. And lo and behold, about a third of the way through it, the government came in with the sewer mandate. So that really took the capital improvement program and literally threw it away. We still had to do the capital improvements, but to do the investment criteria that we were attempting to do through that Platte Moran program was just destroyed by the fact that we were now going to have to enter into a $50 million debt, and unfortunately most of the infrastructure repair went to the sewer rather than the water, or our rates and our taxes would have gone up considerably. So I think we still sit on about $8.5 million in capital improvement recommendations by our township engineer.
That's correct.
On just the water.
Yes.
And we are now getting into a situation where we can't wait any longer, because we'll wait as long as we can, but even this budget, even this increase still does not address the capital improvement upgrades that we need going forward. And I don't know, until such time as we start reducing our bond debt requirements going forward, I'm not sure that we can really attack it the way it needs to be attacked, because on top of that we have roads and we have sewers. So I guess, yeah, unfortunately the Platte Moran program went by the wayside when the sewer project came in, just literally. And all these numbers that we get now are based on Platte Moran and Ann's. We give that to them and say, this is what this is what we need to do moving forward. What do we have to charge? What do our rates have to be? And these are actually less than the rates they recommended, again, because nobody wants to drive these rates out of sight, because we all need the water. I mean, the reality is, well, I probably shouldn't get on a soapbox, so I won't, because I have a lot of real strong feelings about it. But I just want you to know, historically, the upgrades that we made to our sewer program in about 10 years was probably the equivalent of a 50-year plan. And so our infrastructure on our sewer, not our plant, but our sewer infrastructure, is probably should have taken 50 years to get where we are. We're there. That portion is done. And the rest of it we're just addressing as maintenance for the most part.
You said you had 2 questions.
So the second question is really, I think, more of a semantics. The way it reads, it says 10% per quarter. This is really a one-time 10% increase. It's not 10% this quarter and then
right.
10% the next
Correct.
quarter and so on and so
right.
forth. So it's just semantics. So it's a one-time 10%.
It's just the way we've always tried to relate it so people can understand.
I know, I got it, because you're paying the quarters.
Right.
Thanks.
Other questions, comments for Mr. Kostick or Mr. Budney?
I just want to reemphasize that there's so many things that this increase pays for. It's not just your water. It's for the operation, the capital improvement, what little we can do. We have a minimum, and we do try and do a whole lot with that minimum. We don't want to get into a situation as in Detroit where the infrastructure, they just let it go. And you can see the mess. So and we put on the DPS, and with Ann's help, we put a lot of time in on this, and a lot of thought goes into it. And this is certainly the bare minimum that we need to keep on top of things.
Other questions? Other questions, comments, either for Mr. Buddy or Mr. Costick? All right, with none offered. Giving me just a second here. Those in favor of supporting the recommendation of the DPS Commission to approve adjustments to the water and sewer rates of 10% per quarter as displayed in the Finance Director's water bill comparison sheet, with the rates increasing from 8.09 to 9.15 per 1,000 gallons, and sewer rates increasing from $3.12 to $3.60 per 1,000 gallons, effective the 1st of April. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? Thank you. We'll be able to move along with that. Again, Mr. Budney, please.
Thank you, sir. I would move to extend the 2012 contract from D&D Emulsions, Inc. for dust control services for the 2014 season at a rate of 58 cents per gallon applied for dust bond based on the recommendation of the DPS Commission.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Trustee Posiask. Any questions, comments on dust control? We've been using this emulsion for the last 3-4 years?
Yes, and pretty much 2013 we had one application, 2012 one application, and 2011 two. There's someplace, yeah, is it 2011 we had 2 applications. And D&D Emulsions has held their rate for us over all these years, and the roads that we put it on, the people seem to be pretty happy with it.
Myself being one of them, and Mr. Zalasko also on a similar road. When it's applied properly, it forms sort of a crust seal over the road. It really does keep the dust down. We just need the proper weather conditions for the application. But my personal experience with it, and Mr. Zalasko, I think, will back me up that it does a good job of keeping the dust down, and they've kept their prices down. Any other questions, comments on this application?
Just a comment that it's been around in Grosse for almost 10 years now. It's a great product.
Other comments? All right, with none offered, those in favor of extending the 2012 contract from D&D Emulsions for dust control for the 2014 season at the rate of 58 cents per gallon applied for dust bond, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? That motion carries. We'll move on to airport layout plan. Treasurer Van Oss, please.
Based on the recommendation of the airport, of the Grosse Ile Airfield and Commerce Park Commission, the Grosse Ile Township, we're requesting the Township Board authorize Mike Duker to sign a contract number FM 82-05-MP ALP and Exhibit A update between the Township of Grosse Ile and the Michigan Department of Transportation.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney on the airport layout plan and Exhibit A update, and we'll turn the explanation over to Airport Manager, Mr. Duker.
This is pretty much, again, just to update our current airport layout plan and Exhibit A that we have on file. It's really to meet a new checklist that came out from the FAA last year, and they've also, it's been a while since they're outdated. The Exhibit A was in 2007. The current ALP is from 1998. A bulk of this cost, the total project cost, that $89,500 is a total project cost. Our share of that, the local share, will be $2,653. Most of that cost is due to a new aerial survey that the FAA is going to require. So we're going to be, planes got to fly over and take aerial imagery and then process all of that. That's the major cost. And then the rest is really just our airport engineers, CNS engineering, doing the rest of the legwork and completing the documents.
So the state mandates that they actually do a recon flight. They won't use Google services or any of the data mapping, satellite mapping?
Correct. I think to make it as accurate as they can on the runways, they need a plane to do the flyover for the survey.
Going back to some experience in photo recon, anyway, they didn't ask my opinion. Heather, other comments, questions for Mr. Duker? It's one of the things we have to do to keep the airport running. It's not like it's something we need to do, and we have to do. Well, if no comments offered, those in favor of authorizing Mr. Duker to sign contract number FM 82-05-MP Airport Layout Plan and Exhibit A update between the Township of Grosse Ile and Michigan Department of Transportation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? Motion carries. With that, moving on, number 4.
Sure. Based on the recommendation of the Airfield Commerce Park Manager and the Grosse Ile Airport Commerce Park Commission, requesting the Grosse Ile Board to award the east side of Hangar 1 masonry contract to Ram Construction Services at a project cost not to exceed $63,279 plus a 10% contingency of $6,327.
Second.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Posiask. Again, Mr. Duker.
This is really just to kick off our project. We're going to begin with the masonry and the roofing work on the east side of Hangar 1. This is kind of our kickoff phases of it. The only part of the masonry that we're putting on hold, or I requested to put on hold, is what we're going to do with the windows. We had a budgetary estimate for windows from a contractor. We had come out and look at it for aluminum windows similar to what we have here in Township Hall, and that came in, that estimate is at least within about $3,000 of putting in glass block in those windows. So I'd like to request more time to go back and maybe get bids for both options and see where they come back at. I think just for aesthetic purposes, the windows would look a lot better if they're within reach or at least feasible for that building at that price point.
You've removed that phase out of the contract.
Correct. We had two alternatives in this. Alternate one was for for glass blocks into the windows, and the second alternative is for a sealant that goes over the bricks to waterproof them. We did choose to do the sealant as well.
So the windows are out of it. This covers only the other two items.
Correct. The masonry and the sealer. All the masonry repair and the sealer work. And we're going to move pretty quickly on the windows. Obviously, we want to keep the project rolling, so we'll start looking at it this week and get numbers. I mean, we have numbers on the glass block, so it's really just getting estimates and bids for the windows if we want to go that route.
Okay. Just a couple of comments. As we know that the end of that building, the end of this hangar, is deteriorating pretty rapidly and is becoming quite an eyesore, as well as reaching a point of go or no go as far as saving that structure as part of this facility. We've received some preliminary estimates in the range of $150,000 to $200,000 to demolish that and rebuild the end of the hangar. And the Commerce Park Commission and myself felt that if we went through the demolition, that's like taking $250,000 and throwing it away. By going through with the remodel and upgrade of this building and making it serviceable again, at least there's a potential at some point in time of either leasing a portion of that or combining a portion of it with the township facilities. So that was our primary thought in moving forward with the two phases to seal the building, number one, and we do have some environmental that we're going to do in that also, but the environmental would have to be done even if it was going to be torn down. So that's all I have.
Mike?
Yes.
We're going to do the work on the outside of the building. When in the schedule would you assume we do the repairs on the roof?
The roof will be at the same time. That's what we'll be approving next. We're hoping to do those right in coordination. Obviously, we wouldn't want any more water coming into the building.
Michael, just a comment on RAM. They are doing historical reconstruction of two major buildings in downtown Detroit. One north of my office, one south. The Detroit Historical Museum is getting facelift worked, and there's a 150-year-old mansion that's being reconstructed next to me. They're very, very meticulous, very, very careful. So I see your award is to them, and I think that you can go with confidence based on what I saw.
Yep, our bids were returned very tightly between two contractors, and if we picked up the first alternate, it was it could go either way. But we did, because we're holding off on the windows, they were the lowest bidder on the base, and I'm comfortable with that company as well. I've seen some of their work.
Mr. Rankin?
Mr. Supervisor, Michael, a couple questions for you. Can you explain how the process worked, right? Because there's a lot of questions on what actually it's going to take to fix that building. So as far as having the engineers look at the bids and the contractors come out and the pre-bid meeting and everything, if you could just explain how that works so we get a feel for how much engineering is involved here.
So initially, we've looked at the building in the past. We had a general contractor come out and give us budgetary estimates of the building so we could at least start putting some numbers in our heads. Once we analyzed all of those numbers, we decided we wanted to move forward with bidding it out and seeing what the actual real numbers do come back at which time I basically called our township engineers, C.E. Rains, and managed. They oversaw the entire bidding process, and then we had pre-bid meetings that they were involved in. They were involved in all the site visits with the contractors, and then all the follow-up meetings that they had questions on.
As far as specifications for the work to be done, are there specifications written by the engineer?
The specifications were originally based on the contractor. We had come out to give us some budgetary estimates, but then they were reviewed by the township engineer as well, because they did all of the writing of the bids for us.
So the township engineer would look at this and say, based on the state of that building, this bid, this package is going to tie that building up and make it safe and secure.
Correct.
Other questions, comments for Mr. Duker? Personally, I'm really pleased to see us going forward with this. I'm restoring that into the building. We're keeping the historic hangar intact. Wise move, I think, to go with windows for future tenants. I'm sure any tenant would rather have windows than glass block. It would be an additional cost for a future tenant to remove the glass block and put actual windows in. So a good preemptive move, a better use of the money. And we are filling up office space, thanks to the work of Mr. Duker, finding tenants and getting them comfortably situated and spending their money here. So I'm just really pleased to see this going on. And again, as Treasurer Van Oss said, we could spend the money to tear it down and remove it, but I don't think that's the best use of our resources. We'll spend the money, restore it, make it inviting to future tenants, and keep the Commerce Park rolling. So thanks for the hard work and the diligence on this, moving it in the right direction. Other comments from the board? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of, awarding the east side of Hangar 1 masonry contract to RAM Construction Services at a project cost not to exceed $63,279, plus a 10% contingency of $6,327. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Duker, but don't take your seat.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion based on the recommendation of the Airfield Commerce Park Manager and the Grosse Ile Airport Commerce Park Commission. The Grosse Ile Township Board authorize awards to the east side of Hangar 1, same building, one roofing contract to Holbrook Roofing Company, and the project cost is not to exceed $31,675 with a 10% contingency fee of $3,168.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney. A little more information, Mr. Duker?
Again, just kicking off the project with the east side of Hangar 1. The contingency is also there for when we redid the the actual hangar here, we had some unexpected costs with some of the roof decking. It kind of depends on how water penetrates it, and it may look okay on the bottom and can be rotted out on top. So I know we tried to be careful for that and add some extra footage in there in the initial estimate, and then did the 10% contingency to kind of protect that. The couple of recommendations that came out of the contractors and our township engineer that we didn't initially have in there was for the installation of that 200 linear feet of the Z flashing. That basically goes between the vertical siding there and the roof and the base of the roof to kind of keep snow from getting pushed back up into it. And then there's also on the south side of the building there, we need to do some flashing. There's an I-beam, the steel I-beam that's up there in the brick column. There's actually an opening there into the roof that needs to be closed up. Those two were noted by a contractor, reviewed by the engineer, and that recommendation was made. And then the initial bid did have copper gutters and downspouts in the lower and upper roofs. We would save $3,800 if we went with a 24-gauge color-clad steel gutters, so I made that recommendation that we move forward with that to save the funding for the two other items that popped up.
Just have a comment. Thanks, Mike. Understand that all the work that's being done here on the airport comes out of the funds that are the enterprise zone of the airport. There's no tax money. There's no tax dollars being invested here. These are funds that are collected in reserve from our rentals and our property rentals and our businesses that we rent here to keep the airport off the tax rolls. The airport, through Mike and his predecessor, has done a very good job of maintaining and managing that money, and the funds are available in our account to do this without affecting any tax or tax collections.
Probably the most important point we brought up, this is an enterprise zone, and this is self-funded. We are not going to the taxpayers for this. Other questions and comments for Mr. Duker on this roofing project?
So same question on this, the bid process, if you can explain that and the involvement of engineering.
Exact same thing. We had the initial estimates, then we had all the roofing contractors. The engineer put the bid together. Everything went through the engineer on that one. They were at the initial site visits, the pre-bid meeting, on-site visits with all the contractors. They did all the notes. And then we did have an after meeting with Holbrook Roofing to go over the changes for the bids, and we wanted to make sure we had everything in a row. And then the engineer basically okayed that, and that's why we're awarding tonight.
Okay. Other questions, comments from Mr. Duker?
What's the expected completion date around, roughly?
I don't have an expected date for you off the top of my head. It's in the next couple of months. We'd hope to at least start it in a month.
Okay.
They'll have construction right in the middle of Island Fest.
We will need to look at that and line some stuff up because we don't want to obviously have
I'm going on vacation. Tim,
Other questions or comments from Mr. Duker?
Mike?
Mr. Alvesto?
Looking at the Holbrook bid, it does say installation of new copper downspouts and so on. We're not going to go with that. And my question would be: is there a life expectancy between the steel and the copper?
No, from what I recall, I believe the life expectancies are similar. The steel downspouts are coated, and I think the life expectancy is similar. The copper is just much more expensive because of the cost of the material. I would also say with copper, you have a higher chance of theft. I mean, I don't think that's too large of a concern in this area, but it is a problem in other areas.
Okay. All right.
Other questions, comments? All right, with none offered, those in favor of, awarding the roofing contract for the east side of Hangar 1 to Holbrook's Roofing Company at a project cost not to exceed $31,675 plus a 10% contingency, $3,168. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? That motion carries.
Thank you.
That let's see, that does wrap up airport stuff. With that, we're going to move on to, and this would normally be a DPS motion, but since Mr. Budney, would you introduce this or would you like to defer?
No, I'll
Mr. Budney?
introduce it. I may not go along with it, but I'll introduce it. let's see, how much well, I guess we'll go through the whole thing. This is a motion, whereas the township's dangerous building officer inspected the condition of the property at 28767 South Point on July 10th, 2013, and after unsuccessful attempts to contact the property owner, issued a notice of dangerous building dated October 2nd, 2013. And whereas no action on the part of the property owner has occurred, and whereas a hearing under Chapter 44 occurred on April 3rd, 2014, at which the property owner did not attend, and whereas an April 4th, 2014 order was issued confirming the structure was classified as dangerous and ordering the structure walls to be removed within 15 days and the foundation to be removed within 6 months from the date of the order, and whereas no action has been taken by the property owner within the specified time frame of the order, nor has the property owner responded to phone messages. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the hearing officer is requesting the township enforce the demolition of the structure and foundation, phase 1 and 2, immediately by authorizing the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated April 4th, 2012. I believe that should be 2014. For 28767 South Point, parcel number 73-059-01-0167-002, AKA the Wonder Well, and furthermore, to assess the costs as a lien on the property.
Support.
Okay, we have the motion and the resolution read by Trustee Budney, supported by Trustee Smith. Mr. Ream, do you want to take over the history and explanation?
Yes, thank you. I'm here on behalf of the building inspector and the dangerous buildings officer, and I'd like to, I know Trustee Budney was concerned about the backup material. I want to apologize. I submitted that information, but I did not make sure it was to the clerk's office before I left for vacation. But what those attachments are obviously photos. All of the specific demolition and dangerous building notices that were prepared by the building department, and they were sent to the property owner at 2 known locations because we didn't want to leave anything to chance. And the other item was the actual ordinance that was attached to that. So we're to the point in the ordinance where the board can enforce the order, and that is what is being asked to do. We did get 2 quotes for the contractors to demolish and haul away that building, and one was $5,900 and the other is $4,300. Our proposal is to assess those costs to the property owner as a lien, just as stated in the ordinance, and it's our intention to use the low bidder. However, if they have a scheduling conflict, because we want to expeditiously have this building removed, and those costs are very competitive, and I feel strongly that we should move on this as fast as we possibly can. So we would ask the board to approve this resolution, which would give us the authority to enforce the order.
I'm trying to put on the overhead. I've got the photos taken up of the property. If I were a little smart, I figured out how to rotate it 90 degrees. But I think this is the telling picture. It is a dangerous situation. It's the old Wonder Well, and it just wouldn't take much for somebody, kids horsing around, somebody just poking through, one of those blocks falls down, we have an injury. It's an attractive nuisance, and it is dangerous. And it needs to be, and that's why, much as I don't like to push things through, but this needs to be addressed and addressed quickly. We're getting into better weather with more people doing more things outdoors. I don't want this dangerous, this accident waiting to happen to continue waiting to happen. So, again, I wish I could rotate these pictures. I'm working on Mr. Treasurer.
You said there was a hearing held. That hearing was held where?
Yes, here at Township Hall.
And he didn't show?
April 3rd, I believe.
They did not show.
Okay. Secondly, what exposure do we have legally? I guess we should probably ask our township attorney that question, but...
If, according to the ordinance, we have the right to put this as a lien on their property, one of the things that we believe is a possibility is that this property is starting to go into foreclosure. We don't know that.
Taxes paid?
We haven't, the last tax bill has not been paid.
Okay.
However, we have not received anything from a bank, anything from a mortgage company, or whatever the case may be. So I would say the exposure is, whatever these costs are, we assess them as a lien on the property. That could just complicate us getting our money back. However, if it's placed with the property, I don't want to say this, but we ultimately get our money back.
Did you had the township attorney review these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know, Ted, were you asking what is our liability, or?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, what is our liability on this? I mean, our exposure there is, you're talking about getting money.
Just getting our money collected back would be our liability exposure.
We have no liability, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I would also argue our liability is worse if we don't do something about the safety issue.
Okay. I have a question.
So what the number is, what is our risk, is the money we're putting in will go as a lien on the property.
Right,
and until we get that collected, that would be our risk.
And that's, okay. I have
Quickly, the diminution in value of the property before and after the destruction or removal of it. Arguably, there would be absolutely no liability because the property may be worth more after it's demolished than it is with it standing. That's why, in reviewing it with Dale, I haven't been real concerned about the liability.
Okay. I have a question, for Dale, I believe. And I just received the information like during our study session, so I haven't had a lot of time to go over it, but I noticed 2 letters in there, one dated October 2nd, which basically that same wording was incorporated into the March 11th. What happened in the 5 months in between? Because there's nothing, no documentation that anything was done for 5 months.
Prior to that October letter going out, the building inspector made attempts to call via telephone, and from the information we had on file, and received nothing. I believe at early stages had one phone conversation with the property owner. And somehow it was communicated to the fact that, well, in order to bring electrical services to the property the way it was required to be, it made it too cost prohibitive. So we're not going to do this right now. And they said, well, you have an unsafe situation and you need to address it. And with winter came, nothing happened. So we sent the follow-up order. We as the township over the winter.
Yes.
I know that the building inspector made a few attempts to contact them via phone, but we had sent the notices in the late winter, early spring, and we held the hearing, which is the next step in our ordinance.
Do we have any documentation to show we did anything for 5 months?
I just know phone calls, attempts were made by the building inspector, but there was no other formal letters or actions taken.
Okay, and just a question, I guess, to the board, because I guess the rest of the board had time, in the short time we had to look at this, that they looked at it. Is it safe to say there's nothing in that packet that causes any other questions? It's just the 2
notices.
The notices, and then the 2. You talked about 2 estimates to do something with it. That's what's in there.
The demolition, the photos, and a copy of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Mr. Ream?
No, I just have a comment in general.
Mrs. Smith.
I live adjacent to this neighborhood, and I walk by this with my dogs every day, and I have noticed, I mean, there previously used to be a construction fence or some sort of fence around it. since the last several months. Obviously with the ice fishing season, it is used very heavily during the wintertime. And during that time, and any time I walk by, there are children in that neighborhood, so I do have concerns. It's a very enticing building for kids to check out, and you can see the loose bricks. I think that, and it's an eyesore. If you're looking at real estate in that neighborhood, it certainly is an eyesore, and it could potentially be a consideration to people who are looking, and it might be a deterrent. So I'm all for this. I think the legal aspect makes sense. The cost, I hate spending money to do something like this, but it's better than the latter and possibly having a lawsuit now that we know about it. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Other comments from the board? And I have fielded numerous complaints from other residents. What are you going to do about it? We're following the process required by law, and we expect results one way or the other. This is the other way, because the owner apparently has lost interest. I can't make a value judgment, but it appears that they've lost interest. So with that, those in favor of proceeding with the demolition as described in the resolution.
Roll call vote.
And we will proceed with a roll call vote. And I will start with Mrs. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Posiask.
Aye.
Mr. Budney.
Aye.
Mr. Malvesto.
Aye.
Treasurer Van Oss.
Aye.
Clerk Ranka.
Aye.
And Supervisor Loftus, aye. Motion carries unanimously. And Mr. Ream, thanks for the work on this. We'll move on to action item number 7, Community Recreation Department Tractor, Mr. Malvesto.
Yes, sir, Mr. Supervisor. Proposed motion, as recommended in the 2014-2015 approved Community Recreation Department budget, the Grosseal Township Board authorizes the purchase of one John Deere 4320 compact utility tractor at a cost of $27,350.32, and one John Deere 400 XC loader, which is an attachment, at a cost of $4,698.92 from Sales Equipment through the State of Michigan Bidding Program Contract 071B0200317 Agricultural Grounds and Roadside Equipment.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Malvesto, seconded by Trustee Budney. We did review this in the budget, but Mr. Rooney, make your case for that good-looking tractor.
Okay.
One of those myself.
Yes, as we went through commission study sessions and also board study sessions, and from our priority list of projects we had for the coming year, the tractor was number one on the list as far as a purchase. As you know, we have a tractor from 1957 and 1963 that our maintenance person, Mark Tiso, keeps running, but it costs money. And then the loader is a 1968 that's kind of sat there frozen for a while. I kind of joke with Mark when I go out there, I'm saying the Henry Ford Greenfield Village might have Water's Edge as a working annex site for how golf courses operated in the late 1950s, early 60s, based on our equipment, but maybe that's not a good joke. But you have the background information. We're looking for approval. The commission supports it wholeheartedly. And if you have any questions, I do my best to answer them.
Mr. Bentley.
This stays within the budget that you had proposed?
Yes, it's definitely in there. Also, the pull behind is in there that you won't see tonight.
I understand that that's separate, but thanks.
Mrs. Smith.
I used to have a Massey Ferguson that was just like this. I could have sold you a couple years ago, but anyway. Is there a reason why we don't actually look at used equipment that maybe is 1 or 2 years old that still may very well have a manufacturer's warranty still tied to it? Because you can save a lot with the depreciation. I mean, the minute this goes out the door, it's...
Right, we have with some equipment. This is actually a 2013 model. We're saving about $1,800 on it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Other questions for Mr. Rooney? Who's primarily going to be operating this tractor?
Well, it's a community recreation, but it would be Mark Tiso mainly, and somebody trained at the golf course who's ever cutting or using it for like...
Our volunteers will be using this also for cutting, or...?
They'd have to be trained before they could be put on it. He's a stickler on who uses the equipment, especially the mowing equipment. We have to be very careful.
Okay.
But it's something you could also be used in other departments. Say, one thing that they bring up, it's good on trails, because it's a very compact, powerful tractor with a good turning radius, where it can move. So that's something that open space on trails could use if they need it. But it would be used at the airport, it could be used at the farm, for fill, topsoil, grading, mowing, dragging pens, and that type of thing. So it's a very multi-use.
It's not doing us any good if it's sitting still.
Right, we'll use it.
Okay. Other questions, comments for Mr. Rooney? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the purchase of a John Deere 4320 compact utility tractor at a cost of $27,350.32 and one John Deere 400CX loader, which is that front end loader I see bolted onto that tractor?
Yes.
At a cost of $4,698.92 from Sells Equipment through the State of Michigan Bidding Program Contract 071B0200317, Agricultural Grounds and Roadside Equipment. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Opposed? None offered. Okay, now you can vote. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Rooney. We'll move on. The 33rd District Court financial audit. And since it has your name on the request.
Sure.
Mr. Rankin?
Mr. Supervisor, move that we accept the 33rd Judicial Court District Annual Financial Report for the year ending December 31st, 2013.
Support.
Okay, moved by Clerk Rankin, seconded by Trustee Budney. It's just a short resolution. We have reviewed the audit, and I think the purpose of this resolution is to resolve to accept the audit.
Yep, yeah, I'll read it here just very briefly. This is, whereas the governing body for the Township of Groseal has received and reviewed the annual fiscal report, our financial report submitted by Plant Moran PLLC for the 33rd District Court for the year ending December 31st, 2013. Now, therefore, the Township of Groseal hereby resolves that the annual financial report be accepted as submitted.
Okay, any comment among the board? Okay, this is pretty much pro forma. If anybody does want to see a copy of the audit, I have it in my office. I do represent the township at the Court Management Council, and they're the same budgetary concerns, same problems, same successes and failures we have. It's a very similar process. Sorry, Bob. And the other guy who spends much time, actually far more time than I do with 33rd District,
just to comment briefly, I think you can see from the reports that you have that we're at less than 5% of the total caseload that's at the courthouse that's there. We're the only community smaller than us caseload-wise and revenue-wise is Gibraltar. So we're even below Flat Rock and I think 1/7 of the largest community, Brownstown. So there's a lot of money being spent at that courthouse. We do receive the benefit of it with a relatively low amount. I'll tell you that Chief Porcerelli and I are reminded on a quarterly basis when we do meet with the courts about the revenue generated, because we all know where the revenue comes from in that regard. And we've repeatedly said it until there's a highway built across Groseal. The increase in the number of tickets will be slim to none. So it is. I know that they battle with it strenuously at the court level, and they put a lot of time into it, but it's important to note on our end from it, the total number spent, we're at less than 5% of the overall cost.
Thank you, Mr. Sordi. A good update. We are one of the smaller players there. Of course, being the safest community in Michigan, don't have a lot of other, besides traffic tickets, we don't have a lot of things on the docket at 33rd District, which is a good thing. So with that, those in favor of approving the Plant Moran audit of the 33rd District Court, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. It stands approved. That does conclude our action items for tonight. We will move on to reports. We'll start with Clerk Rankin.
Mr. Supervisor, just really briefly, the next Planning Commission meeting is May the 19th, so another 4 weeks away, and that's it for the clerk's report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. For the month of March, Groseal Township had a total of $888,677 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated an interest income of $2,839 with an average interest rate of 0.24%. As low as that is, it's getting better. The finance officer is working on compiling the data for the fiscal year-end reports and upcoming audit reports. You can see the investment report in its detail either on my website, or you can come to Township Hall and we'll print you off a copy. The treasurer's office is selling 2014 dog tags. Please provide a valid rabies vaccination when purchasing your pet tag. The cost of the tag is now $12. Dog park passes are also available for $10 for residents and $20 for non-residents. We have a Commerce Park meeting 19th of next month, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee reports. I'll start with Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Only 33 more days until Island Fest, so there's still some spots to volunteer. I've got two board members already signed up. I've got a few more to get here, but if you don't come to me, I'm coming to you. Island Fest this year runs Friday, May 30th through Sunday, June 1st. And we've got a couple of really exciting changes or updates for this year. I'm actually going to have Chad come out at our next board meeting and give us a full update and some of those changes and whatnot. But we do have craft beer this year. In addition to we've got the VFW doing some craft beer for us, so we're really excited about that. And of course, the Knights of Columbus will be out for their steak roasts. Also, wanted to share with everybody that our 100th anniversary centennial celebration Groseal, Michigan stickers are in. You can buy them for 100 pennies. Actually, we prefer dollars. But they are available for purchase at Township Hall, at the cashier's office, as well as at the rec department. And I don't know if you guys can get that up there. That would be great. That kind of gives you an overview. But get them while you can. Got a limited edition, limited amount. And as far as the 100th Centennial Celebration, that is running October 11th. And at this point, the majority of the stuff is going to take place on Macomb. And Fifth Third parking lot is where we will probably have the majority of our entertainment. But there will be more details to come. As far as the committees and commissions that I report to, the next meetings are May 14th at 7 o'clock for the Communications Commission and May 21st at 7 o'clock for the Island Fest Commission. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Modesto.
I don't have anything for this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Not a whole lot because of the way the meetings fell this year. Our ZBA and DPS meetings are already taken care of, so we won't be meeting until May. However, we are, the DPS is going on their annual road tour tomorrow. So I encourage everybody, you probably want to go to our May meeting to see what projects we have in store for you. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bundy. Ms. Posiask.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. My two committees, the first, the Bike Path Advisory Committee, meets on the third Tuesday of every month. You should be aware of sale of memorial bricks designed to defray the cost of installation of the drinking fountain, which has been donated by the Island Roadrunners. This is a nice touch. It's a brick for $50 that you can put your name or whatever you'd like to honor and place it around that fountain. That fountain is going to be located in the vicinity of Grow Road and Midway, which will be in a nice spot on the just to the direct north of us. It's a pretty spot for a fountain. It's going to give folks a nice place for a water refill station for themselves and for their pets. But we would encourage you to take a look at the brochures. There are some available downstairs, and we will be handing them out. Greenways Open Space has a lot on its plate also. The most recent event was the Dump to Junk, Find a Treasure event and the electronic waste recycling event. And I would like Woody to tell us himself his impressions of the event and how it went. I heard stunning success. So would you like to elaborate, Mr. Clark?
Now or later?
Now would be nice.
You can fill us in on your dump the junk, and you can speak again later if you so desire, Mr. Clark. You don't have to.
Okay, dump the junk was big. We ran out of trailers real fast. The plank woods, I don't know where people were getting these plank wood, but they filled up 2 dumpsters real fast, and then we threw the rest of it on the ground. And of course, the brush doesn't take too long, and only have 3 for them. We're short on trailers, that's what we are, and we got to get more, that's all. And then they don't have them, so they got to do it in parts. And they'll fill it up and take it back and bring it back and fill it up. That's what they do. Or they take it to the back and burn it. I don't know what they do with it. But that's it. Yeah, it was really good. I mean, a lot of stuff, and we had a lot of steel, and I hope we can get pretty good for the next donation of what we're going to give it to.
What did you have in the e-waste, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, okay, there was they come in on Saturday too, and they say, come back Sunday. Yeah, right, we're going to drop it right now. There was a lot of people dropping it.
We were only able to secure them for 1 day this year.
I know that, but we told them to go around. Now, the problem is sitting around the corner, we're not watching them, so we don't know who's back there also digging in the pile. If we ever do that again, it's going to be out front, so we have some idea where they are.
I understand Cliff's got 18 television sets now, so.
Yeah, he does. He took them on home, he's going to sell them.
Thanks. Were you there both days, volunteering your time to orchestrate that event?
He sure was.
Were you there both days, volunteering your time?
Yeah.
What do you thank you?
Yeah, I was there all day Sunday.
Just to add to the Greenways Open Space advertisement, the next 2 months' meetings for the Greenways Open Space will be town hall meetings. We're going to have people from the committees sitting and inquiring and discussing the current state of our open spaces and what we'd like to see done with them in the future. And we're looking for a lot of positive input, and if we could find ways to make the open spaces more usable, more friendly, more safe, that's what we're here to listen to. And so I think that May and June's meeting, if you want to put your 2 cents worth in, that's the perfect time. It'll help us address several issues. Thank you.
Okay, you said the May 6th and June 3rd.
That's correct.
They'll be up here?
They'll be up here.
Open forums?
Open forum, we're going to sit in a circle and talk to folks, and man to man, person to person, and get their opinion of what open spaces means to them and what they would like to see happen to our open spaces.
Okay, folks, it's your property. Come on and let Mr. Posias know what you'd like us to do with it. Anything else, Mr. Posias?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to supervisor report. And Carol has a list of, we have some of these flyers in the back room, but upcoming events. The 2014 Island-wide Garage Sale, Friday and Saturday, August 22nd and 23rd, 2014. Sounds like a long ways away. People are calling me about weekly now, want to know when it's going to be. The garage sale people are out there and they're ready to hit Grosse Ile again. Household hazardous waste, May 3rd at Wayne County Community College in Belleville. It's a long ways out, but if you have certain hazardous waste, we won't take a dump the junk. That's the place to get rid of it. And there are flyers for this. U.S. Postal Service annual letter carriers food drive is Saturday, May 10th. Put non-perishable donations in a bag by your mailbox. We have flyers explaining this in the back of the room, and I'll have them posted on the website. To me, this is big. It was in the Ile camera, but it's far more important that on the Boston Marathon run again this year. And several island residents participated. Lisa McCarthy, Linda Rayfield, Michael Tamelia, David Wilson, and Collie Hooper-Yan. I'm sure we all remember Collie almost finished last year, except for the the little bomb blast event that deterred her from crossing the finish line. I think she was about 1.5 miles short. Congressman Dingell allowed her to finish at the Island Fest Parade last year and presented her with the medal, but she finished this year with her friends and her family at Boston. And God bless her. What an inspiration that, I'm not going to give her age, but she's older than I am and can run circles around me, and God bless her. Fighting some illnesses and persevering. St. James Spring Rummage Sale this weekend, Friday, May 2nd, 9 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, and that's Friday, May 2nd, 9 to 4, and Saturday, May 3rd, 9 till noon. So come on out and help St. James clear out their attics. Okay, the 3rd annual Fun Run and Walk to benefit Grosse Ile Animal Shelter is scheduled for Saturday, May 10th. You can call 771-3164. There are flyers for this at the back of the room. One other thing on the Governor's Fitness Award. I went to the one in Lansing. There was a far bigger award statewide at Ford Field that night. And again, Sergeant Valaquette, who had just driven back from Marietta towing the trailer with the rowing shells, got home, made a speed change, and was down at Ford Field to represent Grosse Ile at that. So, and he came here tonight. Now he's getting ready for midnight shift tonight. So it was just a great contribution for a community member, and it was great to represent Grosse Ile. A couple other odds and ends, and Tom, would back me up on this, the dates for the firefighters golf outing. Or June 14th?
June 14th, yes.
June 14th. Water, this time it's at West Shore. It's 18 holes at $100. There are still some openings. It's a lot of fun. And the kayak event.
That'll be on June 15th. Sunday the 15th.
You changed the date on that, so I'm glad I asked. And that's at Water's Edge?
Yes, it is.
And are you going to grill the sausages this year, or you keep? I keep goading you on that. You keep promising.
No, I'm gonna do the sausages at our walking event.
Okay. Well,
Brian Sharkey from Sharkey's is going to provide the food at the kayaking event. So
excellent. So the weather's getting better. Lots of stuff going on. It's going to be a great summer. That concludes my report. Turn over to the Township Manager in case we left any stones unturned.
Nothing to add, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ream. At this time, open the microphone to public comment. And Mr. Clark, I guaranteed you'd have another shot at the mic, so you know the rules.
Okay, Andy, what do you got?
I can't.
Around me.
Oh.
$2,400.90 legal fees to O'Reilly Rensselaer.
And which one? Dated.
From the 11th.
You're telling me, I don't know which one.
From the 11th and the 25th.
Yep.
Yep, is that the one?
Oh, yeah, I told you the amount.
Yep.
The warrant list dated April 11th to O'Reilly Rensselaer in the amount of $2,002. And on the warrant list, checks dated 4/25 in the amount of $398.
Okay. On the dump to junk, we took a lot of metal in. I'm really going to be impressed on how much money we're going to take in, because it was heavy. There's a lot of stuff that was really heavy. So we'll find out what it was, and then we'll give it to the people. We got a little, I don't know, it's the soccer, football field out here for the kids, out on the other side here. Commerce Park, we'll say. There are 2 poles in the ground, they're yellow, and there's a walkway path that goes that way, and you come up onto a grate, and next to the grate, there's a hole about this big, and it's about 2 feet down. So if somebody falls in it at night, they're gonna get hurt, or we could get sued. Also, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah. You had a desperate thing with the Winterwell. Where are we on Rio Road?
Far more complicated process. I guess I would have to either defer to the township manager or the attorney, which one he wants to field. It is a valid concern as we're going along.
Yeah, that's a little worse than the other place.
It is pending litigation, and I'd prefer that we get into details in a closed session with the board on pending litigation. I'll It's an active file, on file, Wayne County, and we're currently waiting for further action from the court.
So when do you think the further action will come?
What further action are you looking for at this point? The final demolition?
Knocking it down.
Several months.
Okay, that's all we want to know. Thank you.
Not by our decision, by Wayne County Circuit Court.
Thank you, Mr. Sardi. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments from the public present? I'm going to throw one out there. Oh, happy birthday to Lena Kazoos. It was yesterday, but she's here faithfully. Happy birthday. This time, we are going to be moving on to open space considerations. With no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and retire to closed session.
Motion to adjourn and retire to closed session.
Okay, with that stated, have you a second? Okay, Clerk Ranka, those in favor of retiring to closed session, signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, not offered. Open session is closed at